Welcome to Mr. R's art class. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thumbs, subs, and ring that bell. Okay, so for this project, we're going to make a 3D model inside of Paint 3D. What this is going to be, it's going to be a Day of the Dead sculpture. It could be based off an animal, it could be based off a pet that you've had before, maybe that passed away. So this is going to be similar to maybe one of the spirit animals that you've seen inside of the movie Coco. So we're actually going to decorate it with some different patterns using repetition. We're also going to get into a little bit into anatomy. So we're going to use some references that we gather from the internet. So again, this could be based off maybe an animal that you had before, maybe a pet that you've had before. It could be based off of any animal that you see inside of the 3D library. It could also be based off of a loved one, right? So whenever something passes away, it doesn't necessarily have to be a sad thing. You could always, create this spirit animal to remember, some of the good times that you've had before too, with something that might have passed away, whether it was a pet or a loved one. We're going to, again, use repetition, use some shapes. You could use some of the colors, get creative, use some of the resources that we find on the internet. So like I said, we're also going to get into a little bit into anatomy when it comes to some of these animals. So you can also gather some resources on that. It doesn't have to be really accurate. It could be really basic, but still based off of the anatomy of the animal that you're doing or creating. So you can see in this image here on the legs, I'm also doing the rib cage here as well, but again, it's not really anatomically accurate, right? So you could also, what we're also going to be doing here is not just the front of the body, right? So this is the 3D model, but also go around the sides of the animal or the 3D model that you choose, and also add some of the rib cages that go around the side, maybe some of the backbone, the spine. So let's go ahead and get started. So first thing you want to do is you want to go down here where it says type here to search. I'm going to type in Paint 3D. I'm going to click on new once this loads here. I'm going to show you where to find these 3D models. So I'm going to click on new, click on 3D library, and you can choose any of these animals here. You can also just type in animal. Again, it could be based off an animal that you've had before, a pet you've had before. You can also just type in a really specific animal like a dog. So this is the dog here that I used. It was a Shiba Inu. So I went ahead and clicked on it, and it's going to go ahead and load inside of the main paint screen. So this is the main dog here. So you want to go to edit colors, and I just start with the solid black color, and then I add the white on top of that. All right, so I started with the face. Sometimes some of these brushes, they might be a little bit pixelated because your 3D model is a little bit too small. So what you could do is you could grab your brushes. And again, just as a reminder, these are some of the different functions here. If you're using a mouse, if you're using your touch screen, if you're using the pen, the keyboard. All right, these are some of the different controls that you could use here. So if you have your stylus, it would be using the pen here. You can also combine the keyboard functions as well in order to orbit or go around your 3D model. You want to make sure that you're in 3D view. Your 3D object is selected, your 3D model is selected, 3D view, holding down control, and you could do the left arrow on your arrow keys or the right arrow in order to orbit around your 3D model. All right, so for this one, again, I made it a solid black. I'm going to use my brushes here, and again, you can orbit around your 3D model. And the first thing that I did was that I used this marker tool here. You could use some of these other tools here, but it seemed like the marker tool was a little bit more accurate. Some of these other ones, there's a lot of spread when it comes to the brushes here. It's really pixelated when you use some of these other ones here too as well. Some of the thickness on some of these markers, they don't go as thin as this marker does. So this goes all the way down to 1 pixel, right? So like I said, we're going to change it to white. Just wanted to show you that real quick, that this could get really detailed when you're using the marker tool. So I suggest that you could use any of these other ones, right? So since I used the brush, I could just make this white. So if you're using the brush here, you could see some of the brush strokes. So let me use watercolor here real quick to flatten this out. And even if you're using the paintbrush here, you can kind of see how there is some value to that, right? It gets really light towards the edges and then it gets darker towards the center there. So this is again another reason why I use the pen tool. So I'm going to hit undo. I just wanted to show you what some of these other brushes do and why I'm going to be using the marker tool. You could be using some of these other brushes here for some of the larger areas. So I'm going to come in here real quick and just outline the face of my sculpture. I might even go into some of these ears here. So again, I'm just quickly outlining where I'm going to add white to this 3D model. So I'm going to also keep using the marker, and again, this is a nice solid color here. The edges are really crisp, as opposed to maybe using the spray can, the other brushes that are there, so that goes all the way to the edges. Again, if you're not getting some of these clear edges here, you could scale up your model. You don't want to scale up too much because then you'll slow the program down and you'll slow your computer down. So again, I'm just going to start out with all of this being white, and I could add some of the other colors back in. So just the pattern of the face, I'm going to add white. You could do this anywhere you want. You could also look up some examples. So I'll show you some examples right now of other skulls. Alright, so we could always clean this up. We could always add black to it. Just showing you that this is going to be white here. And again, you could just do a quick sketch with this marker. You go back down to 1 pixel, do a quick sketch. So let me show you some references that I used. So I went to Google and I typed in the dead sugar skull to look up some different patterns that I could use. I also typed in dog front bone anatomy to get some ideas of what the shoulder blades are going to look like, the rib cage is going to look like, the different parts of the leg. And if you zoom in on this leg here, you could see how some of the different toes of the dog extend a little bit more than what we might be used to seeing. And I also typed in the dead spirit animal to get some good ideas of different spirit animals here. So here's Dante. That's another thing I looked up here. So I got some inspiration from Dante, from Coco, because of the bright colors that he uses, right? Because that was one thing I wanted to do. But my spirit animal isn't going to have as much color as Dante does. So I'm going to go back to this Day of the Dead skull here, and I'm going to go back to mine inside of Paint, and I'm just going to show you again some of the colors that I chose. So you can click on add color if you want a slightly different color than the colors that it gives you here. So you have all the colors here. You just need to make some slight different adjustments. One thing I did do was that I added black around the eyes. So I could go back and add that. I also made the nose black. It kind of made it look like an upside down heart, but you want to go around the shape of the 3D model nose, and then I would just color this in, right? So in order to color this in a little bit faster, I would increase the amount of pixels that the marker tool is using. Again, I'm using the marker tool just because it has some of the cleaner edges. You could zoom in to be a little bit more accurate. Right, again, you want to take your time with this. This is a 3D model, so you have to think about this three-dimensionally. And this 3D model does have some eyelashes here, so you could leave those white. You could carefully try to leave those white, or I might just end up coloring those black. And since my eyes are completely black, I could get a little bit closer, change the thickness, and whiten these up. Again, I could just use the 1 pixel marker tool just to outline what I need to go back and change. So again, the marker tool is really versatile for this project here. So I would color all this in, same tool, same marker tool. Again, feel free to use any of the other tools that are here. I'm just showing you what worked best for me. Again, you could zoom in. Increase the amount of pixels that your marker tool is using. right? You also want to rotate around your object. I could also clean that up, but now it's starting to look like a skull, right? So this white part would be the skeleton, and then these black arrows would be where there is no skeleton here, right? So now I could maybe increase the eye sockets here. All right, I'm going to grab that pink that I grabbed a little bit a while ago. I'm going to click off of 3D view because I want to look at this from the front. You can notice the size difference here, so to be a little bit more accurate, you could get the black back. Zoom in on these eyes. And make these eye sockets here really close to the same size there. So I would still fill in the eyeballs here so that they're white. Leave some space for the irises or the pupils. And now I'm going to come in here with my black paint. Let's try it with one pixel looks like. So I'm just going to add a pattern here. All right, so when we're doing these Day of the Dead sugar skulls, I'm thinking of a pattern. So that's 1 pixel. Let's see what 2 pixels looks like. Maybe 2 pixels makes more of a circle. And let's try to evenly space these out. So I got that eyelash there a little bit in the way. So anything you do on the left hand side, you want to do on the right hand side. You want to make this sugar skull symmetrical. That's another thing that we're practicing, right? So we're practicing repetition, we're practicing patterns, we're practicing symmetry, right? You might not get the same amount of dots on the right-hand side. All right, so let me just show you real quick how I did some of the anatomy as well. So I'm going to go back, grab my white, go back down to 1 pixel here, and I just quickly sketched out what the anatomy of this dog looked like, or a dog looked like, right? So I was just trying to find a nice image on Google Images of what anatomy looks like. So even though this isn't the same dog, you might be able to find the same dog here. I just thought that this was a good illustration of what some of the anatomy looks like for an animal. So you get the shoulder blades that are really high up. You have the neck here. So again, you have to think about this three-dimensionally. Might have to zoom out. So this would be a quick sketch. So this is the neck. You have the shoulder blades here. Again, this is just a rough sketch. If you're going to be in 3D view, you want to make sure that you're well balanced out. And you want to constantly keep going back to your reference there. So there is some space here with the rib cage and the spine there. And so each of these lines might actually be a part of the rib cage. Again, it doesn't have to be anatomically correct at this point. All right, so then I'm gonna just go ahead and fill these in. Each of these will probably be its own bone here. Okay, make sure you're centered if you're going to be in 3D view at the same time. And maybe want to draw all this spine that goes all the way back. Again, you just want to create an impression of anatomy. It doesn't have to be accurate for this project. And I may go back to my reference. And so that's the end of the shoulder blade there. So now I have a socket, another bone there, another joint. So I have let's go back. And you can kind of see where the joints would be here. So that'd probably be a joint, that'd be a joint. So that would be a joint there. Joint there, and then you have the long bones for the toes there. And you increase the thickness. Again, still using the same marker tool. And you would do this model again all the way around each side here. So again, you would add a spine to the back. You would add the rib cage on the side. Now more bones here for the back leg. If you did any part of the leg here, let's say that I do the bones on the front, you don't have to draw them again on the sides here. That I'm okay with you just drawing on one side. With this back leg, maybe you want to draw it on the side. Even these bones here, you could have maybe drawn it here on the side as well. So again, you only have to draw one bone once. You don't have to draw this leg 4 times, right? So you don't have to draw the same bone on the front, the side, the back, and the left hand side. I'm okay with you just drawing that one bone once. The only thing you might want to draw all the way around will probably be the rib cage here and the spine right down the back. So again, you could look for any of these models here inside of the 3D library. All right, let's say you're ready to save, or you want to save inside Paint 3D. Let's save it both ways here. Let's go to the top left corner. Let's go to Menu, Save As a Paint 3D project. I'm going to call this, I'm going to abbreviate this DOTD. And this is just the type of dog it is, Shiba Inu. Save in Paint 3D. So once that saves, you want to save often. I'm also going to go to Menu, Save As, and Save as a 3D model. It's going to automatically take you to 3D objects. What I want to do is, again, I want to save it inside of the folder for this project so that we have it wherever we go, right, in case we need to swap out laptops for whatever reason. So I'm going to go into Documents, click inside of the academic year, click inside the period that you have my class, the semester you have my class, and the project we're currently working on. So make a folder for each project if you have to, and then saving as a GLB file, same file name, and I'm going to click on Save. Alright, so if you have any questions of how to color select, the brushes you could use, how to find the 3D library, how to import some of the 3D models into your canvas for Paint 3D, go ahead and let me know.
Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And feel free to watch any of the other related videos.